speak freely. Go ahead.
All right. Now you made a challenge. I'm going to meet your challenge unlike you, because people would have realized now that I have quoted scholars like Bart Ehrman, who have written scholarly books, who have made it very patently clear to people like yourselves, who believe that actually the earliest manuscripts of the Bible are the ones I've mentioned. L source, M source, Q source, Matthew, Mark, Luke. John is old. Now these sources come about, as he's mentioned and admitted today, about 100 years after the Bible. Now, after Jesus. Having said that, let me meet his challenge. He says, why is it the case that you don't find that the Quran, first of all, and the Hadith, obviously supplementary to the Quran, has been written down? Wait a minute. What a lie that is. What a lie that is. Let's start with the Quran, since it's higher. Ibn al-Jazari mentions in Tayyibatul Nashr, which I'm sure you don't know what that is. It's a book, a scholarly book, written. He says that there are 3 conditions for a Quran to be accepted. Condition number 1, it must be memorized and there must be an oral transmission as introduced. Condition number 2, it has to be concurrent with the Arabic language. Condition number 3, there must be something written as well. These conditions are all met with the Uthmani script of the Quran, which is why you will find no doubt. Which is why you will find no doubt that the masahib of the books of the Quran, which are in Turkey and in Sana'a, in Yemen, yes, they do go back to the time of Uthman in 651. And they are radiocarbon dated to a degree of 99.9%. 99.9%, refute me today. There is a written book of the Quran as well as the chain, as well as its concurrency with the Arabic language. That's what we're bringing forward today. We're not coming here to say that the Quran is merely but memorized. No, there is a written Quran, and it's there for everybody to see. In fact, there's more than one. Point number 1. As for the hadith, there are written ahadith as well. What are you talking about? No doubt there are written ahadith. In fact, so much hadith is written that it becomes a condition of the acceptance of hadith for the person who's able to write the hadith, for him to have what we call dabt. Dabt is either you have good memory and or you can write well. So the one who's writing the hadith and is transmitting it has to be able to write properly. This is a condition of Mustalah al-Hadith. Having said that, the companions of the Prophet wrote the hadith, and he was instructed, the Prophet instructed them, as is in the authentic hadith, not to write it in Mecca, but then in Medina when the injunctions came down, he told them to write it, which is why you'll find the Khadim of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he wrote the hadith down, they were written down. This is why, sorry to say, but someone who's not acquainted with the primary source, primary language of Islam, when they come to the Quranic and Islamic discourse, they fumble because they see in their mind, okay, the first hadith book is Ibn Ishaq, or it's, for example, Al-Bukhari. But wait a minute, does the fact that it's the first compilation mean that the actual hadith was not written down before? How humiliating! How humiliating! That's absolutely not necessary. Absolutely not true. I've explained to you how and why. Moreover now, how could you, from your position of Christianity, someone whose manuscripts have literally been changed hundreds of thousands of times according to Bart Ehrman, there are more inconsistencies in the Bible than words in the Bible. There are 400,000 words in the Bible. There are more inconsistencies, there's more variances in the Bible than words in the Bible. According to Bart Ehrman, 97%, wait a minute, 97% of the manuscripts have been found of the Bible are after the 9th century, which is 2 centuries after Prophet Muhammad. So your Bible, 97% of the manuscript comes after our Quran. How dare you stand there and talk to us about scriptural integrity? How dare you, my friend? No way, no way, no way. This is not acceptable. We will not accept that. You have humiliated yourself today, J. Smith. You have embarrassed yourself. How dare you? I mean, how embarrassing that is. Today, get me a chain. That's the challenge. A chain with the book that goes back to Jesus. We're ready to accept Christianity today. Let's do it. Get me the chain with the book Don't talk to me about spiritual integrity when you have none and you have no documents to back up your claims. Jay, go ahead.
This is going to be fun. All right, let's go and let's just unpack each one of the major manuscripts that he doesn't wear, he's not aware of. The Topkapi manuscript, when was it written? See, he says it's been written by Uthman. Let's look and see what the Muslim scholars are saying today. Dr. Tahir Atakulic, Dr. Ekmel Nisanalu, your leading scholars in Islam, they have now looked at the 6 major manuscripts from 2002 to 2007, over 5 years. They are the only ones that have looked at all of these 6 major manuscripts. They've looked at the Topkapi. What are they now saying? This is from the mid-8th century. That's 100 years after Uthman. It only has 78 to 99%, depending on how much you want it, which one you're going to quote, of the Quran that is readable today. But even in the Quran that is readable today, there are 2,230 manuscript variants from the Quran that we use today, the Hafs Quran. 2,230 manuscript variants. Now, words or phrases that are different than the Quran we use today. 2,270. Thanks for correcting me. Let's look at the Topkapi. Sorry, let's look at the Samarkand in Tashkent, in Uzbekistan. That only goes up to Surah 43. There's 114 surahs in the Quran. Much of the Quran is missing. What's more, Dr. Tahir Atakulic says, when you look at this manuscript, it is so full of errors, it has so many grammatical mistakes, it's an embarrassment. Whoever wrote it did not know very good Arabic. Don't use it. It is from the early 8th century, 60 to 70 years after Uthman. Let's go to the Husseini manuscript in Cairo. That's from the 9th century. That's 200 years later. It has a manuscript variant. Let's go to the Ma'il manuscript, right here in the British Library. That only goes up to Surah 43. But you didn't know that, did you? Because Muslims refuse to look at the newest research. Keep up with the newest research by your own scholars. Bart Ehrman has never done any material on the Quran. Now let's see what it has. Let's go to the Sana manuscript that you love so much. The Sana manuscript has many different small pieces. The largest piece of it only is 23% of the Quran. And in that 23%, it has 93 manuscript variants. It is dated to 705, but that's only part of it. Much of it also is dated at a later part, at a later date. The Petropolitan, that's the Petropolitan manuscript. Can you see, folks? 6 major manuscripts. They are all from the 8th century. Not one of them is from the 7th century. Not one of them is complete. Not one of them agrees with each other. And not one of them agrees completely with the Quran that we have today. So when was your Quran canonized? When was the Quran that we have today finalized? In 1924 at Al-Azhar University by a bunch of scholars 93 years ago. What's his name? Prince Philip is older than your Quran. And that's why you need to look at the historical evidence. Don't come here to me with platitudes. But did you notice he still hasn't come up with any manuscripts that are existing today for the Hadith prior to 833? He cannot come up with anything prior to 833. Even the one that he's going to come up with for Al-Bukhari is not from 870. It is from the 11th century. The earliest manuscript we have is from the 11th century. We have nothing even from the time of Al-Bukhari. So be careful what he's going to say. I'm not going to sit and mock him as he talks like he does with me. I'm just going to ask every one of you to realize that history is now catching up with Islam and with the Quran. He said that the Sana manuscript has been carbon dated. Yes, it has. Look at the dates of the carbon dating that's coming now out of Toulouse, that's coming out of New York, that's coming out of Arizona at the carbon dating labs. The carbon dates for those manuscripts go back to 443 AD. Muhammad was born in 570 AD. That's over 100 years before Muhammad. What are you going to do with that? Be careful the claims you make. And if you're going to use Bart Ehrman, for heaven's sakes, that's laughable. Bart Ehrman has been destroyed by most of the reputable Christian scholars today. He does not know his material. He does not know his craft. I would rather you would go back to the Muslim scholars. Go back to Dr. Kulic. Go to Dr. Ekbilin Isanalu. Go back to the men who know their craft, who have seen the material, who have looked at it, and who have also come up with their conclusions. Thank God we've done that with our Bible. I'll show you what we have in the next 5 minutes concerning what we have for our Bible versus what you have for your Quran. Jesus.
Listen to me. This is, I'm telling you, the most outrageous claim. The first thing he said was that the base you gave. If you go to any reputable search or any kind of anyone who knows anything, when is Sana'a manuscript carbon dated till 651, which is the time of Uthman al-Affan. How do we know that? Because Uthman al-Affan came around in that time. That's when it was canonized for the second time. There was a first canonization in the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq, when Zayd ibn Thabit did the first canonization, and then the second one. As for the variants that he's talking about, that's a lie. There isn't 2,700 variants. What he's talking about is their tajweed. Now I'll tell you what we mean. Just in a very simple way. Say for example, if I say for example a word and another word, sometimes you have something called four harakat, yeah? So I say, I make a med for four harakat, like that. His variant is basically, if I say like that he considers a variant. This is not what we're talking about. If you look at the variants that are actually changes in meaning, there are few in number, and they are justified by the fact that the Prophet Muhammad had revelation of 7 ahruf. What is the difference between the harf and the qira'ah? Since you know now your stuff, and you've been reading your stuff, and I'm sure you've been reading. In your opinion, what's the difference between a harf and a qira'ah? Because if you don't know what a harf is, you don't know what a qira'ah is. The qira'ahs have ahruf differences, and these differences go back to the Prophet Muhammad chains, and they've all been written down. So, there's not 2,000 that's a lie and false. For example, let me give you an example. You've got Malik and Malik. Malik is repeated in the Quran is 10 qira'at. 6 of those qira'at have Malik, and 4 of them have Malik. 4 of them have Malik. So you have 2 differences represented on 10 different qira'at. These 2 differences go back to the Prophet Muhammad through a chain and through the written Quran.
You have to be the old, I know.
They take different tribes and they do have different meaning. He made this very clear. Now, 2,000, that's a number which cannot be justified. You'll never be able to prove. Third point, he's saying that I've not been able to bring any evidences for the hadith. I say generally, that's completely a lie. The thing is, it doesn't have a name, like the salahat, the terminological expressions you use. Sometimes it's just named after the Sahabi, Ibn Mas'ud, Abu Hurairah. All of these individuals, they wrote the hadith down. So we say the suhuf, or the writings of, and then we say the name of the Sahabi. And these things are still available with us. So for you to say it's not been written is nothing but a lie. It's not true. You cannot substantiate that. You have to disprove what I've just said. You say, no, actually, Abu Hurairah and the Khatib of Abu Hurairah didn't write anything down. You have to say that the Sahaba didn't write it, that these manuscripts that I'm telling you of the hadith don't exist. You have to say that. But you'll never be able to make that claim, because that claim would be nothing but falsehood. Now, having defended Islam, let's go back to Christianity. Well, it seems to me like you have not answered the question of where is the provenance, the chain of provenance that goes back to Jesus Christ. Where is the person, or where are the people that have seen Jesus Christ? Where is the Bible anyways? Why is 97% of the Bible, according to Mark Ehrman, manuscripts that came after the 9th century? Answer the questions. These are questions. I've answered your questions. Now it's time for you to answer my question. This is how people reach true conclusions. You bring your claims, I bring my claims, you ask your questions, I ask my questions. I answer yours, now it's time for you to answer mine. Where are the manuscripts? Where is the Bible? Where is the original Bible? Who saw Jesus? This is my question. Give me an answer. Why are there so many variants which have theological implications that are different to each other, contradictory to each other? I dare you today to find one variant which goes back to the Prophet Muhammad, which contradicts each other. I can find you a dozen that has theological implications to the Bible. How can you explain the fact that the church had a creedal development? 25, 42, 381, and 451. All of these times have shown that the creeds of the Christians have nothing but change. They've changed time and time again. My question is how comes you're believing in Christianity, which has been developed after Jesus, 381? Jesus,
it's Bible.
Follow Jesus.
I didn't look for it.
No.
Robert here.
God bless.
This book is a homosexual.
No, I never said that at all. You were lying.
I challenge you on this.
You were lying.
I challenge you on it. Come back. Come back. I challenge you on it.
No, repent.
Okay, have you noticed he still doesn't want to go back to the manuscript evidence? But unless you have manuscripts, you can make all the claims you want. If you don't have the manuscript evidence, if we don't have the manuscript evidence, then you're going to have a problem. That's why I said Islam with a small I is what he's telling you. Islam with a big I, the historical Islam, is proving to be inaccurate. He has not kept up with the latest material. He's not even read Ekmeliddin. He's not even read Islamically. He's not gone back to Ayatak Alter Village. You must go back to your own Muslim scholars. Stop keep going to Mark Ehrman. He's done nothing on the Quranic manuscripts. He won't know diddly squat. But more than that, folks, have you noticed? Unless you're going to show historically from the 7th century that you can even show one Quran that comes from the time of Muhammad, stop claiming it. You can't prove it. There's nothing in existence. In the 6 earliest manuscripts that you have, every one of them are full of manuscript variants. Now, Dr. Dan Brubaker, in his doctoral thesis in 2014, looking at all the 6 manuscripts, he wanted to find manuscript variants. He wanted to find maybe 15. That's all he needed. He looked at he took pictures of all the manuscripts. Guess what he found? He found over 200 insertions in the manuscripts. He found over 500 erasers, where they erased complete words, complete phrases. He found copies that had copies of copies where they had tapings, where they had coverings, where they had writings over top of the coverings and over top of the tapings. 2,200 different changes in these manuscripts. What was most troubling is that these changes continued up until the 9th and 10th century. For 200 years, they were still changing the Quran. They were still changing these 6 manuscripts. None of them are from the 7th century. They only begin to appear in 705, and they continue to be changed up until the 10th century, 200 to 300 years later. Now deal with that, Muhammad. I know this cannot be over your head because they can all understand it. Now let's go back to the biblical manuscripts. He said that none of the biblical manuscripts or none of the writers knew Jesus. I've already said Matthew and John were with Jesus for the last 3 years of his ministry. They were eyewitnesses to what they wrote. Did we have the manuscripts, their original? No, because they were written on papyrus, which disintegrates. That's why copies need to be made immediately. But that's why we do have papyri. You can see it even in the British Library. And by the 6th century, we have 235 of these copies. Sorry.